Hello, everyone. My name is Dawn Evans, and I'm the Access Text Network Coordinator. Welcome to this week's webinar exploring how RedShelf's accessible eBooks can benefit students and disability services offices. First, some quick housekeeping items. If we could switch to the housekeeping, great. Live captioning is available by clicking on the CC icon at the bottom of the Zoom screen. You can also enlarge the captioning box by clicking on the upward arrow in its top right corner. This will be a 1-hour session, and there will be 20 minutes for questions after the presentation. If at any point you have trouble seeing the bottom of the screen, simply adjust your view options in the top center of the Zoom window. To ask questions or make comments, please use the Q&A pane. You'll find the Q&A icon at the bottom of your Zoom window, and feel free to submit your questions at any time. We have set up an EPUB resources page at bit.ly, so bit.ly/EPUB-ATN. The QR code to the right will also take you to this site. As soon as we have the webinar recording, we post it on this page along with the PowerPoint decks. The next webinar will take place in 1 week on June 4th at 2 p.m. and we'll be learning about how to discover accessible titles online. Today, you're going to hear from Erin Lucas of RedShelf. And without further ado, I will turn things over to Erin. Thank you so much for being here today, Erin.
Thanks, Dawn. Thanks, everybody, for joining. As Dawn mentioned, I'm Erin Lucas. I am the Director of Digital Accessibility and User Experience at RedShelf. So I provide direction and support to our amazing RedShelf team for all things accessibility. In addition, I'm often out on campuses with our sales team, meeting with accessibility folks and bookstore managers, occasionally some faculty, to help them ensure all students have what they need to succeed. I've been with RedShelf since 2017, but prior to that, I spent 20 years in software design and development. 15 of those years, I was at the Department of Defense, ensuring Section 508 compliance for websites and software products. I am a DHS certified trusted tester and a member of the International Association of Accessibility Professionals. I also wanted to give a sincere thanks again to Dawn and to ATN for inviting us to participate in this webinar. It's our honor to be included in such great company. So let's start off with, who is RedShelf? So we are an ed tech company, and we are focused on affordable, effective, and accessible learning experiences on campuses throughout the country. We partner directly with nearly 700 higher ed institutions, and we're the primary digital provider to Follett managed stores across an additional 1,200 campuses. If you're a current partner, it's nice to see you here, and if you're new, welcome. We're happy that you joined us. So as part of our mission, the RedShelf Digital Accessibility Team is dedicated to supporting those campus accessibility personnel to ensure a seamless experience for their students. If you have questions or need more information about RedShelf's accessibility first commitment, you can visit redshelf.com/A11Y, or you can always send me an email directly at erin@redshelf.com. So let's start with accessible materials one-on-one and what we mean when we say accessible course materials. So what really qualifies as an accessible reading experience for students? So really, in simple terms, it's a combination of two things: digital content in an accessible format, and combine that with the accessible delivery of that content. So digital content in an accessible format. Typically, when we talk about reading systems, they ingest both PDF and EPUB, And everyone really knows what a PDF is. It's very well known. It's been around since the early 90s. It's meant to be an exact digital replica of a hard copy textbook. It's developed originally as a solution for consistent printability. It's generally easy to create and edit, and has become the standard for alternate text accommodations for disability services offices. PDF, though, is becoming a less popular option for digital course materials. There's less and less need for printing in the digital age. PDFs are not adaptable to smaller screens in various resolutions. And the accessibility is not baked into a PDF. And as most of you probably already know, it can take significant remediation to make PDFs accessible. So EPUB is fast becoming the most popular option for course materials. So EPUBs, which is short for electronic publication, they are born accessible digital content, meaning they are designed and developed and created from the beginning when they're born to be accessible. It's also a content type specifically developed by and for the publishing industry. It is more compatible than a PDF with assistive technologies, and can include metadata, which we'll get into a little bit later, for those assistive technology users. It's also reflowable, easy to use on any size screen. It's not locked into a particular orientation or size or format. And it's also governed by industry standards. So that ensures equal reading experiences for all. So what about RedShelf and PDF versus EPUB? So RedShelf has about 1 million titles available in their catalog. And currently 38% of those titles are PDF and 62% are EPUB. But then when we look at the distribution of content in student accounts, we see that students are using mostly PDFs, so 78% PDFs and 22% EPUB. So while we can see that the industry has really embraced EPUBs, and that the big publishers are taking a digital first approach to publishing, that doesn't necessarily mean that that's always what's being adopted. So even though 80% of new higher education textbooks are EPUB and older publications are slowly being moved to EPUB, and there are clearly more EPUBs available, we have to think about what are the conclusions we can draw from how those are being distributed. So the most popular textbook might not be available as an EPUB. That's where it's important to engage those pub reps, to ask them questions about the format of the titles that are being adopted on campus. And if you know that a newer edition is an EPUB, for example, maybe professors are using older editions. So again, an opportunity to influence more accessible adoption of materials if you know that an EPUB is available. And I know of cases where the accessibility office might not be aware that the school is offering a digital inclusive access program for eBooks. So they may not have that voice to say, oh, okay, I see that we're doing digital books now. Are we able to influence more accessible adoptions, getting more of those EPUBs available and on students' shelves? So the other thing that can be revealed with these numbers is, if we were able to offer or actually adopt more EPUBs versus PDFs, we might have less accommodation requests. So this could mean, that accommodations remain, a hot topic because students are not adopting as many EPUBs as they possibly can. So of course, this just kind of scratches the surface and we're making conclusions here, but really the end result is being aware of what's available to be able to influence that adoption of an EPUB format. So what about accessible delivery? What do we mean by accessible delivery? So of course for RedShelf, That is our content delivery system, also known as CDS, and it is built around our browser-based eReader platform, which has been vetted by industry partners for accessibility. So the DAISY Consortium, I'm sure many of you have heard of the DAISY Consortium, but they have a specific test suite that they use to test reading systems. And the members who have volunteered to do these tests, most of which are blind, and so they are testing with screen readers and other assistive technologies. And then once they've done their testing with the test suite, those ratings of the content and combined with the reading system is then displayed on epubtest.org, where you can look up the scores that any reading system that they have tested are listed on that website, the accessibility conformance there. Inclusive Publishing recently named RedShelf as a top reading system for accessibility. The National Federation for the Blind has also vetted our reading system for accessibility. They've also reviewed our internal processes. They've gone through our employee handbook and reviewed the accessibility onboarding program that we have for all of our RedShelf employees. Everyone at RedShelf receives accessibility onboarding when they start with us. And then Tech for All is a company that we use. They're a consulting company, and they create what's called a VPAT, which is a voluntary product accessibility template, which essentially means they've gone through our reading system, compared it to the standards, tested it for all of the standards around accessibility, and they're able to say, okay, this is conformant with the standards, or this fails the standards, et cetera. And then that is all compiled into a document called a VPAT, and then that's publicly available for anyone to view. It's important to know that our VPAT is a third-party VPAT, Tech for All obviously being the third party. And that's important because it's better to have a third party verify your accessibility than to self-identify your accessibility. And it's also a requirement for many of our school partners. And we really believe in transparency around our accessibility. So what we do when we work on our VPATs with Tech for All is that as a team, we create a list of any items that we are working to get from supports with exceptions to full support. We make that list publicly available. We link it to the specific supports with exceptions line item in the VPAT. And you can click on that at any time and see where we are on the roadmap with our accessibility improvements. So again, transparency, making sure that everyone knows where we are with accessibility. And then we're also involved with several committees with Benetech and DAISY to help spread the word about EPUB's Born Accessible. So if you come to RedShelf and you look at a product page for a book, how do you know whether or not that book is an EPUB and has certain accessibility features baked into it? So here, for example, is a product detail page on RedShelf for a Macmillan book called An Introduction to Brain and Behavior. So you can see under the ebook features that this particular title is text-to-speech compatible. So that means that the title is an EPUB. So that's a really great way to be able to tell, okay, I know that this title is going to be more accessible for a user with assistive technologies because it's an EPUB. If it was a PDF, that option would not be available. And then, you might want to actually check the book out ahead of time to see how accessible the PDF was from a content perspective, and make sure that it is compatible with assistive technologies that your students might be using. So what does the future of EPUB look like on RedShelf? So I had mentioned before that accessibility metadata, and it's not necessarily new, but a lot of folks haven't really heard about what accessibility metadata is in EPUBs. So essentially, it's hidden accessibility metadata that's inside the EPUB itself that can help users make informed decisions about whether or not these digital materials will be usable for them. So when an EPUB contains this metadata, it can be displayed to the user. And when it's displayed effectively, it should indicate if the digital materials will meet their needs. So the key word there is effectively. So why do we say effectively? Well, raw accessibility metadata is not super user-friendly. Essentially, it's just words that indicate particular features of an EPUB that are kind of squished together. So good examples here are structural navigation. I mean, what does that mean? Does the layperson really know what that means? Other examples are textual visual, all squished together, one word. Unlocked, display transformability, high contrast display. So if you're working with an accessibility office, you might be able to kind of glean what some of that information could mean to your assistive technologies. But if we were just to take these metadata tags and just dump them on our product page, a user might be like, okay, well, this is great, accessibility metadata, sure, but what does any of that mean? So how can we make that more useful for folks who need to know the accessibility metadata to know whether these files will work for them? So moving forward beyond the accessibility metadata, we need to have a way to display it. So the transition to accessible EPUB working group, which includes industry accessibility leaders, like Daisy and Benetech and ATN, publishers, accessibility offices, and vendors like RedShelf, created a UX guide, which means user experience guide, for displaying accessibility metadata. So this guide takes the raw metadata and assigns it to specific categories that are understandable for the layperson. So for example, screen reader friendly. Does this particular file, this particular book work with a screen reader? An accessibility summary that gives you the highlights of the accessibility features that are available within the book, and also maybe some tips on adjustments to make within accessible technologies to help make the experience easier for the user, like say turning on punctuation, etc. EPUB accessibility conformance. So that speaks to the web content accessibility guidelines and the level to which this particular file is conformant. Also, publisher workflow certifications. So a publisher can get a certification on the creation of their EPUBs from beginning to end. And there are specific companies that provide that certification. And if they are certified, they can also display the certifier's credential or icon image indicating certification. Also, are there any hazards in this book that someone using an assistive technology might need to be aware of? And then, if you really just want to look at the accessibility metadata, all of those raw tags, you can do that by looking at the list. So what would that look like in a RedShelf scenario? So the upcoming upgrade to our product pages is going to include multiple changes to our product display and how we display our product information to everyone using RedShelf. So we will have an accessibility metadata tab that will display all of these categories for accessibility metadata. So again, we use the same Macmillan title, An Introduction to Brain and Behavior. It still says text-to-speech compatible under the ebook features. But if you go to the metadata tab, you can also see that it is screen reader friendly. It has long descriptions. There are things you should enable in your AT so that you can get a better understanding of the content. It has an accessibility conformance level of AA. It is certified by Benetech, and then Benetech has provided their credential icon. And then there are no hazards in this book. And then, of course, if you want to see all the accessibility metadata, there it is for you to click on. So this is really the future of what our product pages are going to look like post-summer. Making a lot of improvements here in order to enable folks to get a better idea of what their content is going to do for them. So an EPUB is great. we all love EPUBs. Accessible EPUBs are the future, but what if you still need help or accommodations? Well, we all know one size may not fit all. So again, it's true, EPUB more accessible than PDF, but accommodations are still a reality. And as we all know, the ADA prohibits the denial of these accommodations. And at Red Shelf, we trust that disability services and accessibility services offices know what their students need to succeed. So that's why we have a specific protocol designed to help disability services get their students accommodations if necessary. So we have a dedicated accessibility team, like I mentioned before. We are in-house, in the office, employed by Red Shelf, sitting with the developers, sitting with the product team, and we can provide that end-to-end accessibility support to our partners, and we can influence decisions around accessibility from beginning to end for our content delivery system. So we can also answer questions about file format. So if you're unsure when looking at a product page on Red Shelf or a title that someone might be adopting and maybe you haven't seen the product page and you want to know what formats are available, you can always ask us those questions. Do you want to sample a book, whether or not it's an EPUB or a PDF? If you want to see a sample and be able to test it out for yourself, we can accommodate those requests. We can provide that compliance documentation that I mentioned before, the VPATs and roadmaps, et cetera, with where we are going with accessibility. We also do a lot of face-to-face campus visits. We're on campus a lot. And whenever I go out with the sales team and we're, say, in a bookstore talking to them about inclusive access or, adoptions, I always contact the Disability Service Office and ask them if they want to join, be included in those discussions, and have more influence over the adoption of accessible course materials. Of course, we're always willing to do in-person or on-campus demos of Red Shelf. And then we offer a unique accommodation support program that is truly unique in the industry. We do provide direct accommodation assistance for our disability services offices. So generally reaching out to us early is always best. Everyone knows the more advance notice that you have of an accommodation, the faster and easier it will be to get that accommodation. But we specifically have publisher agreements with many of our publishers that allows us to send you a PDF for a verified student. So what that means is easier and faster access for you. You don't have to jump through a lot of hoops to get the files that you need. Oftentimes, we can provide that support within 24 hours or less. And if we don't have an agreement with a specific publisher, or let's say we don't have the PDF, all we have is an EPUB, but you really feel that, let's say, for example, with a student who prefers Kurzweil, that you'd rather have a PDF, we can direct you to the right person or request path, contact the publisher on your behalf if you need that. But we always follow up to close the loop, make sure that you got the file in a timely manner, and that the student has what they need. That is really our job when working with disability services offices, make your job easier and to make sure that the students have what they need. So sometimes students do come directly to us. So we have a dedicated queue for accessibility requests in our Zendesk system. So those route through me and my team. We will always, 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 always loop disability services offices into those discussions. When a student reaches out to us, we may follow up and say, okay, you're saying you need X, Y, and Z. Well, then let's loop in, disability services. We'll get that verification. I want to make sure that they know that you need help if they're not aware. And then we send that PDF directly to the DSO. We are not allowed to send the PDF to a student. So never fear, if a student comes directly to us, then we will always loop you into that. And if you have any questions at all about how this works with campuses, again, please don't hesitate to reach out. always willing to go through it and answer any questions that you have. So what's next on the Red Shelf roadmap for accessibility? Well, in addition to adding the metadata on our product pages, we want to expose that metadata across all of our suite of tools in CDS. So what that means is bookstore managers, professors will have better availability of what's accessible and what isn't accessible about the content that they're trying to adopt. We've also envisioned giving the accessibility office some sort of insight into that information, a view into our adoption tool or our course manager tool, just so that everybody can see any type of accessibility information that they need. And then we're also providing additional support in the eReader for learning disabilities and dyslexia. So that is our big project for fall with our eReader platform team, is getting this all incorporated into the reader. So things like foreground and background color changes, changing the default font of a title, turning off highlights and or turning off and on underlining. So as many of you know, with text-to-speech, that's typically a highlighted section of text that has underlining or some sort of color change to follow along with the words. But we have had requests from students to say, you know, I like creating highlights and bookmarks and all kinds of annotations in my book, but sometimes I need that all turned off so I can just read the content and not have to worry about the highlights. And maybe some students find the underlining distracting. So we're really just trying to customize the experience for students. And then also adjusting the line lengths and widths can have an effect on students who have dyslexia. So that's another thing that we're looking to include within the reader itself. So one big project that we've been working on for a while is how to get courseware automatically converted to a more accessible format when it's uploaded, say, by a professor or a bookstore. So our ultimate goal as part of that workflow is to be able to provide some avenue of conversion. Currently, we encourage anyone who has their own course materials to convert it to an EPUB if they can. We're always willing to answer questions about that, help you figure out, okay, if you're using Word, maybe what's the best way to get it into an EPUB format, etc. But we'd like to be able to just provide that as part of uploading it into our platform for display in the eReader. So that's a big project, maybe a little bit farther down the road, but that's really an ultimate goal there to provide that to our partners. So of course, you know, we continue personal disability services outreach. A lot of our DSOs are beta test participants and give us all kinds of user experience feedback. So when we initially introduced our text-to-speech tool in RedShelf, we worked with a number of DSOs as we iterated on the text-to-speech tool to say, okay, here's version 1 of it. What do you think? Where are we missing the mark? Where are we hitting the mark? Getting that feedback from them, allowing them to let their students use it, giving us all that experience just to make the product better. We also have a collaboration tool within the reader, and it's typically used for professors and students to share their notes and annotations with each other. But what we're looking to do is, with that content that is maybe less than accessible, maybe needs a little bit of help, maybe there are images that aren't properly described or other missing pieces within the book. If the accessibility office had access to that book, they could then make those annotations that would be read with assistive technologies, share those annotations with their students who need that in the book, and then allow that collaboration to happen until such a time as the book is upgraded to, say, an EPUB format with better accessibility features. And then every year we have a campus customer advisory board, typically made up of bookstore managers, occasionally faculty, but now accessibility personnel are being included in that list of folks for our advisory board. So we are doing that coming up this spring. So that's going to be a great addition to the, we call it the CAB, to get all of those people talking together. So let's take a look. Let's look at a couple of RedShelf demos, just so that you can see how our platform works with certain assistive technologies, et cetera. So JAWS screen reader with RedShelf. So on April 30th, there was already an ATN webinar that was done by George Kirscher and Richard Orm of the DAISY Consortium. And I included the link here because they already did the JAWS screen reader demo. So that's the best place to go and look at that. But let's also look at how RedShelf works with Kurzweil, Read the Web with Edge, and then Read and Write plugin with Edge. And then we're just going to do a brief demo of how you can highlight using VoiceOver on a Mac with our keyboard shortcuts. So I'm going to switch screens here. Start with the Kurzweil demo. So this particular demo is just video, and I'm going to talk through the video. So I may start and stop the video occasionally, so we can make sure that everybody understands what happened. So here we've already loaded the book into the page from the RedShelf library, and the Kurzweil 3000 Read the Web panel is open. You can see Richard Orm actually also did this demo. I'm just borrowing from him with his permission. So if we start to play the video, we see that we're moving to a section in the book where we want it to read.
After a day of rehearsals at the Globe Theatre, William Shakespeare decides to have supper at a pub across the street. The pub is full of gossip about royal intrigue in Denmark. After his second pint of beer, Shakespeare is visited by the muse, and in an astonishing burst of energy, he writes Hamlet in one fell swoop. If we apply Locke's theory of property to the situation, clearly Shakespeare has the right to own Hamlet.
So now we can move past the read aloud function of Read the Web and show how we can change some of the settings. So we can change the voice, change the speed of the voice, whether or not we're reading by word, sentence, or paragraph, and then where that panel actually appears on the page can be moved around as well.
Hamlet. He mixed his labor with the raw resources of the English language and produced the play. Remember, we're not talking about the piece of paper upon which the words of the play are written. We're talking about the sequence of words comprising the play. The paper. So obviously you can see that this is our web-based reader inside Kurzweil Read the Web. So you're able to leverage a number of those Kurzweil features that a lot of students are used to. So that's definitely a benefit, especially in the case of where you might request an accommodation for a student who's using Kurzweil. We generally would say, okay, it works well with Read the Web. Have you tried that? We can get the accommodation or request it, help you request it. That's not a problem. But we always try to encourage you to use all of what you have at your disposal to make that faster for the student. All right, so now let's check out Read Write. So I'm sure many of you know what the Read Write extension is, generally used for text to speech, but it also works with our browser-based reader. So now we're turning on the plugin, and I apologize, there we go. There it goes finally.
After a day of rehearsals at the Globe Theatre, William Shakespeare decides to have supper at a pub across the street. The pub is full of gossip about royal intrigue in Denmark. After his second pint of beer, Shakespeare is visited by the muse, and in an astonishing burst of energy, he writes Hamlet in one fell swoop. If we
So again, we can also make these setting changes in ReadWrite. And it's worth noting that these are all features that are available in our internal text-to-speech tool in the reader.
Current page 165. Attempting to treat intellectual property the same as ordinary property leads to certain paradoxes, as Michael.
So again, this is just another option for a student who may prefer to use ReadWrite versus maybe using our built-in text-to-speech tool. So it definitely provides you with some options, especially being browser-based. You have a lot more options if you'd like to use plugins with the browser of your choice. So now let's take a look real quick at a video that one of our developers helped me with on their Mac. So within our reader, we have a number of different keyboard shortcuts that are in the help section of the left rail of our reader. And of course, those are different for a Windows user or a Mac user, so they're specific to the operating system that you're in. But one of the things that we are able to do with VoiceOver, for example, is highlight text using VoiceOver by allowing VoiceOver to actually use its features to select the text, and then use our keyboard shortcuts to launch our annotation modal so that you can make notes and do highlights. So let's start this up. So you can see now that VoiceOver is on, and then it's navigating itself through the book itself using VoiceOver. Unfortunately, this does not have audio, so I'm just describing what's happening. So now here's the point at which we're using VoiceOver to actually grab a hold of the text, to select the text in order to be able to highlight it. So you can see that it's selecting the words. Now we're using a keyboard shortcut here to launch the modal, select the color of your highlight, and then make a note. Save the note. And then you can also use VoiceOver to go over and edit the note. And then move to another section and make additional highlights. And in VoiceOver, you can select, using their different specific shortcuts. You can select just a paragraph. You can select sentence by sentence, or I'm sorry, word by word, or letter by letter. So you have many different options within VoiceOver to actually select the text and then engage those in-reader shortcuts to actually make the highlight within the book. All right, so now let's go back to the presentation. I get it. There it goes.
Wow, perfect timing, Erin.
Oh, wow, yeah, 2:39. Couldn't have timed it better if I'd tried.
Thank you for that. That was really interesting. We have several questions for you.
Okay.
How many publishers are represented by RedShelf?
Oh, gosh. Honestly, I don't know the exact number, but it's hundreds. It's all of the big names that you would recognize. Of course, Pearson, Macmillan, Sage, Cengage, McGraw-Hill, and addition to just tons of other niche publishers. And it's definitely in the hundreds. I know that for sure.
And I looked it up on your website, and one page says 400 plus publishers.
Okay, yeah, see, there you go.
All right. Next question. Okay, needing some clarification about the requesting of publisher files.
Yeah.
Does ATN work with RedShelf for supplying to DSO, or is RedShelf an alternate source to obtain titles?
Okay, so technically the answer to that is yes for both, because Dawn and I are currently working to get RedShelf as an option listed in ATN. So she's helping me with that, which I truly appreciate. But you can also come directly to us. And let's say, for example, it's a publisher that prefers to use ATN and they don't allow us to send a PDF, we will let you know. But what we always encourage accessibility offices to do is to just say, like, here's an example. We have one disability services office that sends me an Excel spreadsheet and says, okay, these are the accommodations that I think I'm going to need for my students. Can you tell me whether it's a PDF or an EPUB? And I'm happy to do that, telling them what the file format is. Then also they narrow it down and say, okay, these are the ones that I know I'm going to need a PDF for. It's students who prefer Kurzweil, for example. So then I work down that list to see which ones we can provide automatically, just providing that to them. Or alternately, if we need to take them down a specific request protocol, we do that with them and just make sure that we're monitoring that and that they're getting the file. So technically, both answers are yes, but one's just a little bit more drawn out than the other.
Okay. And just to clarify on the beginning of your answer, we are working on getting RedShelf into the accessible textbook finders results. So when you search for a title, you will be told whether or not it is in Bookshare, Learning Ally, RedShelf, Vital Source, etc., ATN, etc. So that's where you'll have information about RedShelf and whether a title is on there. Alternatively, when you log into the Access Text platform, just to clarify, you won't be able to get RedShelf eBooks in there. You would still just be getting the regular publisher file that the publishers currently supply. But I think that is a wonderful suggestion for them to be able to ask you if the titles a student needs and perhaps hasn't purchased yet are available as an EPUB in the RedShelf platform, because if they are, the student may very well be interested in giving that a go.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, let's see. I've been getting my accommodated students PDFs directly from publishers, which all have different processes and levels of necessary paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
Are you saying there could be fewer hoops going through RedShelf?
There could be, depending on the publisher. Some campuses are heavy with one publisher than another. That's another discussion, you can have directly with me. But yeah, for sure. We have one campus that on a regular basis will send me just kind of one-off requests as well. And I would say that at least 60% of the time, I am able to give them access to a PDF almost immediately, whereas they might have waited a week or longer for some of those requests to be fulfilled. And so that whole idea that there are a lot of hoops combined with inclusive access, which is becoming more and more popular on campuses. So students have that first day access to their materials. We were finding that disability services was like, whoa, hold on a second. First day access, that's not necessarily true for my students. So that is why we created this whole process with publishers' blessings, adding that information and getting their permission in their contracts to provide these files. And that's really the source of it, making sure that students with inclusive access have that first day access to their materials as well. So that's really where it started.
Okay. Can RedShelf add a light lavender in the background color. That color works best for this particular dyslexic and works well for other dyslexic as well.
I will make that note as a part of, we're starting to break down all of those requirements into tickets right now. So for our development team, so I am writing down that note and I will include it in all of the requirements that we're gathering. Thanks for that suggestion. That's great.
All right. Can you highlight and annotate in the book when using Kurzweil web-based reader?
Does that mean read the web for Kurzweil?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you can do that right inside the book. And so if you're using read the web, you should still in Kurzweil have the ability to do that either in the book or use the read the web functions within Kurzweil. So if you're talking about read the web and that function's available in read the web, you should be able to either do that within the book directly or with that tool.
Okay.
And if you're not, contact me and we'll talk about it.
Is there a cost for this?
No. Our accommodation support process is included in your commitment to RedShelf.
Okay. And then a cost for the eBooks available on your platform?
Of course, yeah. I mean, all of our course materials have a cost associated with them, and of course that's the whole making education more affordable initiative. But in terms of getting an additional accommodation support file, there's never an additional cost to talk to us to get that file, anything like that. And if we verified that the student has already purchased it, they cannot, by law, be charged again. So that's an important thing to note.
Okay, and I want to take a swing at this one and then you can follow me up.
Okay.
What is the difference between RedShelf and Access Text Network? So we're two separate organizations. Access Text is a site where publishers can be members. We have over 40 member publishers, and that is their preferred method for providing you with their PDFs or their EPUBs or their doc files. It's also a place where you can make a request very simply and oftentimes get the file instantaneously because the publishers have chosen to store a file in the Access Text system. RedShelf is a company that, do you rent and sell, Erin?
Both, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That rents and sells eBooks, and I'll let you elaborate on anything.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on how your school is handling it. I mean, you can come in as just a person and search for a book and have rent or purchase for particular periods of time options. So yeah, it really just depends on how your say you're in inclusive access, how that is set up with your school. But it's both rentals and ebook sales. Yeah.
Thanks. Can students write notes in RedShelf?
Yep, they can annotate within RedShelf. They can also create flashcards and use those as study tools. And you can actually use them just like flashcards with questions on the front and answers on the back.
All right. Do students have access to the textbook just for the semester, or do they have access to it after the course is over?
Well, that depends again on the duration. So let's say, for example, a student who comes in and purchases a specific textbook, and let's say it's a lifetime purchase. So typically what happens is they obviously have that available maybe in their course via the white label that the school is using. It's maybe attached to the LMS and so all part of the course that they're in. But since they have purchased lifetime access to the book, even once they're out of school, they can still retain their RedShelf account and they would still have access to those materials.
If a book on RedShelf is a PDF, does that mean the PDF will be accessible?
Not necessarily. PDFs have a varying range of accessibility. We do run everything through a processor to get them as close to standard as we can. But one of the other things that we do with publishers is if we find that PDF is maybe the only option for their books, and you're finding serious accessibility concerns that you can't work around somehow within the book, we encourage you to let us know that so we can communicate that and either encourage them to create an EPUB or remediate the PDF and then put it back onto the platform. So, we're always open to that communication, just, to make PDFs better.
Is RedShelf working with Barnes & Noble, many college bookstores, to get EPUBs in circulation?
We actually are not working with Barnes & Noble. They're independent of us, but I'm not sure if you've heard of Follett, but Follett is using our eReader to distribute their digital materials, but no, we're not currently working with Barnes & Noble.
And funny enough, the next question is, if our campus has a Follett bookstore,
Yep.
how does RedShelf interface with the bookstore?
So essentially what it is we are just the reader portion of that workflow. So, once a student is working within the system and they end up inside the digital book, that's where the RedShelf piece is, the actual reader itself.
Great. Is accessible math being added to the metadata?
I believe that is one of the metadata tags. However, it's not on the list of, it probably would be outlined in the accessibility summary in the metadata if the tags around that exist. That's certainly something that everyone struggles with. MathML, we use MathJax on our end for that. But yeah, it is a tag within the accessibility metadata, but there isn't a specific category for it right now.
Great. Is offline access to content an option?
Yep, offline access is an option. You can take certain sections of the book offline at a time over the course. You can take the entire book offline over the course, but you take specific percentages offline at a time. Same thing for printing. The percentage of printing varies by publisher.
Do you distribute to Canada or just USA?
Currently just USA, but we do have some in terms of our distribution model and like inclusive access, but we do have some schools in Canada that I know use RedShelf because they've reached out to me a couple of times to ask questions. So again, RedShelf is really technically available for anyone to use. So it's sort of a yes and no.
And I need clarification on that. What is meant by distribute? Like someone in Canada can just go to your website and buy a book if they want, right?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, and we do have Canadian schools that their students are using RedShelf books. But right now we're not we're basically United States, continental United States, and that part of North America is how we distribute, like say via inclusive access. But that sort of distribution model isn't in Canada and for us and other parts of the world yet. But never say never.
Got it. Let's see. Someone commented that if you log into Kurzweil3000.com, you can do more highlighting. Thank you for that.
Okay, good. That's awesome.
We've already covered, is there a fee for your services for renting and buying eBooks on the RedShelf platform, of course. And but if you end up asking dear Erin to please help you figure out how to request a PDF from a publisher, she would not charge you for that. But don't forget ATN, you guys.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. Can RedShelf work with Premier Assistive Technology?
Premier, I guess define Premier Assistive.
I believe it's a company.
Oh, that's that. I would have to get back to you on that because clearly I've never heard of them.
And let's see. I will hook you up with this person's email
Okay.
address.
That's great.
Someone is excited about you renting and selling books. Can instructors share their notes with their students?
Yep, that's part of that collaboration tool. And right now it's really geared towards instructors and faculty, but that reuse for accessibility offices is something that we're targeting for the future.
Great. And someone says, no, ATN is my go-to. Don't say, of course, ATN is going to remain your go-to. Don't worry about it. We're here.
We're not trying to replace Dawn and crew.
No, and in fact, you would overwhelm Erin if you treated her like ATN. We still get in 90,000 requests per year, so keep them coming, folks.
I'm happy to share the load.
Yes. And Erin, feel free, you know, if it's a publisher that hasn't agreed to let you send it to the school,
Yeah.
if they're on ATN, let folks know.
Yeah, and I generally will, just depending on how deep down the rabbit hole we get with some of these requests, I am looking at Benetech, I am looking at ATN, just to always provide, because I don't want to leave somebody hanging, right? They can't do something. So I'm usually, out there digging around, looking.
Good. And someone sweetly commented, thank you, ATN, for all that you do. Our pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome.
Wow. 4 minutes to spare, and we got through all of the questions.
Yay.
This is wonderful. Well, I learned new things about Red Shelf today, and I think it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dawn. We really do appreciate participating in this with you guys.
And thank you so much for doing it. Okay, folks, if there's no more questions, then have a wonderful rest of your day. Hopefully we'll see you back 1 week from now. And don't forget to check out our resources page, bit.ly/epub-atn, for all your PowerPoint decks and videos. All right, everyone, take care. Bye-bye.